It's good to see you guys. Welcome. Another monthly meetup. You guys know who I am. Well, it's good to see you guys here. Another month where it's month of May. This is right before Memorial Day weekend, which for all intents and purposes kicks off the summer season. And yeah, I didn't have a specific topic in mind per se, but one thing did come up for me that I wanted to one, talk about logistically in terms of just, the vision of this and where I do see this going and how this is going to support you guys on your journey of fun, happiness, fulfillment, and all the amazing things that we desire in life. But also ways to help give you tools and resources to support you day in and day out, even week to week. So, I was thinking about this, creating this live meetup it's really just to bring people together, to connect, to talk about stuff that's going on in our lives, whether it's based on external affairs or internally with us. I wanted to create a space where we can chat freely and honestly and receive support, not just from me. I am positioning myself as an expert and a coach, and then more than capable and more than willing to support you guys, but also for you guys to connect with each other and share and hear that no matter what's going on in your life, there may be someone out there who can feel what you're going through because they have gone through it too, or maybe they're going through it with you. And through that, you can find a place where not only do you no longer feel alone, but there's an opportunity to reach the other side through that adversity. And so I've been really compelled to just want to build community. I want to create a space where we all can get together, whether it's one time where it's just us guys, or maybe if women join us, but just to create a collective space where we can just get together, find ways to support each other and learn how to have more fun in life, whether it's through the pain and the struggle, or even when things are amazing. How do we enjoy life? How do we take the day-to-day activities that we go through that maybe feel routine, maybe feel arduous, maybe even feel mundane, and how can we enjoy it more so we can experience more fulfillment and energy from life? And from many conversations I've had over the years, including my own personal experience, early on, we have a hard time doing that. We can have a hard time having fun and enjoying ourselves and really just appreciating the beauty that life has to offer. And of course, there's things that we want to go get after and we want to pursue, because I think inherently we are ambitious people. We want to create more success and experiences in our lives, and we can also enjoy it too. We can enjoy the process and the journey. So that's why I wanted to create this, and I'll continue to remind people and let them in if they're coming in for the first time, like you, Lucian, and Max and Carl. I want to let you know why this exists. I'm going to continue to build this out because community is very important to me, whether it's virtually or even locally. The second thing I want to share with you guys is that I want to create more community beyond just this once a month get together. Of course, I have programs and coaching and experiences that will bring people together too. But I also want to create a space where you guys are welcome to go into that's free and that you guys can connect and learn. And I can provide resources and directions and insights that can continue to support you guys in whatever area of life you feel like you're having challenge with. And so I'm building that out now. I'm using a new platform that I got oriented with yesterday. And I'm excited to build it out and share it with you guys. This, for me, what this year has been all about optimization, finding the right tools to do the things that I can do best to help support you guys. And I had to go through a whole internal shift, business-wise, but also internally, personally for me, to understand, what is actually going to be the necessary thing to help not only get me to the next level of personal growth, but to help everyone that I am able to interact with do the same. So I'm going to introduce that to you guys in the coming weeks, where you guys can join in and be a part of an active, engaged community, in addition to coming together once a month like this. So you know, the structure of this, actually, before I even move forward into the next thing, you know, I don't want this to be a Thomas show where I'm talking all the time. Does anyone have any insights, thoughts, questions, comments? Maybe they just want to say hello, personally check in, introduce themselves. You're free to unmute and share. I want to hold some space for that.
Thomas Douglas, are you planning on using like something like Slack or something like that for us to communicate, or do you know what tool, or you're still working?
Yeah, so there's a community tool platform. It's called Circle. It's been around for a little bit, and it's, after going through it, it reminds me a lot of Facebook in terms of the user experience. You know, kind of like on the left-hand side, you have different groups and categories you can be a part of. And then you can join in different conversations and threads, but there's also spaces where I can actually just put resources and you guys can get access to resources and comment on them and share. And I'm going to find ways to also make it fun with a little bit of a gamification or a game design process. And so, you know, by doing a certain task or being active in the community, you get certain perks and icons associated with your profile that can, hopefully, you know, my idea is like, I want to be able to give more and more based on how you guys are giving as well. So there will also be like where I'll post the, you know, events, if I'm going live or if I'm doing this, or if I have opportunities to work and engage with people. It's really going to be like, the way I think about it from my end, some of you guys are business people, so you guys will understand this. You know, I have a marketing platform that handles all kind of like my web pages, how people, you know, buy programs and how I communicate them through email. But that marketing platform doesn't involve community engagement. What Circle is going to do is it's actually going to involve all of the engagement and interaction that I have with everyone that's involved in my community. So that includes people who just want to be a part of that, the free community, but also one-on-one clients, also group-led experiences. I'm going to have businesses who I'm going to be working with soon. They're going to be involved in the Circle experience as well, as I just continue to engage them in that way. I was just looking for like I was looking for one place where I can actually have all my engagement, as opposed to just facilitating multiple emails or Facebook messages or text messages. Like it's a lot to handle as I'm looking to scale, you know, my mission. And so Circle ends up having is the best platform that I can use as the foundation to do all that engagement. But I'll explain all that as I release it to you guys, you know. And so, for example, for Doug, like you're gonna have like your own space for all the interactions that we're gonna have, and that'll be the primary place for you to be able to do that, you know. People who are part of old quests that we did, I'm gonna kind of port their squad into Circle, and so they can be able to get access to that as well. And then those who are not paying clients or are just new to the community, there's going to be a space for you guys that's also going to be there to interact and receive a lot of value, you know. And so I'm just looking to streamline everything while still being able to provide value, because what I've learned about myself, and I don't know if anyone can relate, is when I'm stretched thin and my mind or my eyes are focused on multiple platforms or things, I feel really limited in the value that I can offer. I don't know how I can be best able to be supportive of people. But if I have one place and one way where I can do that, then all my value can go into there. And then it creates, hopefully, the idea is it creates maximum results and support for people. So great question, Doug. Appreciate that. Yeah. And so anyone else want to talk, introduce themselves, have any comments, want to check in?
I'll just say hi. I came in.
Hey guys, I'm Lucian.
Oh, go ahead.
Hi, Lou.
Right. Hey, Lucian here, and I've known Thomas for a couple of years now, I guess, and love this guy. So I thought I'd just come party with you guys to see what this is all about and what's going on in the, briefly. I've got some life changes. I've kind of been, there's some areas that I'm not living to the level that I'd like to. And, I do have other support circles, but I'm always looking for that edge. So I'm looking for, you never know where you're going to hear the one thing that makes you go, aha.
Mm-hmm.
So glad to be sitting here with you guys today. I apologize, I'm on the road, but should be pretty uninterrupted for the call. So thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, good to have you here, bro. Absolutely. Go ahead, Howie.
Hey, everybody, I'm Howie. Kind of came in late, so I caught a little bit of the tail end on the circle, but I think I get the gist. I've heard a little bit about it in the past too. So yeah, just saying hi. I've known Thomas for 2 years, I believe, and went through a couple quests and got a lot out of it. A lot out of it. So definitely want to kind of stay connected in this group however I can. So thought I'd check in.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's good to see you guys.
Nice hairdo, Howie.
Thanks. Yeah, it looks like we have similar tastes in hair.
Awesome. I love it. Max, I don't know if you want to stay silent or if you want to introduce yourself, feel free to. I know you're not on video. It's not required for you to be on video, but I want to just hold space in case you wanted to check in. And if not, that's okay too. Okay, awesome. Yeah, no worries, man. Glad that you are here. Yeah. As this continues to unfold, this is the third time I've been doing this, and I've been just thinking of, more organic ways to just bring up conversation about how we can continue to evolve and grow personally, and have fun doing it. What I have noticed that the people that I surround myself and the people who reach out to me looking for support, they want a better life. They want to experience a better life, and they want to experience it. They want themselves to be a better person. And then they want the results of that to have been experiencing a lot of cool things in their lives, whether it's, you had one client get a promotion, right? Or in some ways, like I had one client who got sober inside of one of the programs that we were doing. You had one guy lose 30 pounds because he wanted to just have better physical wellness. Like I had one guy who got into a relationship, another person was able to reconnect in their marriage. The direction that we can go in is limitless. That being said, whatever your direction is and what your obstacle is, that is personal to you. You want to be able to overcome it, and you want to become a better person because of it, and so oftentimes we don't have a lot of resources. I know Lucian alluded to that, right? We don't have a lot of resources or support circles where we can have these type of conversations, because I was actually just talking to another client of mine. He just got, I'm not breaking in anonymity here on his end, but he got promoted to become assistant coach of a top 10 D1 basketball program, which is a huge accomplishment for him. And it has become much more demanding than his previous role as strength and conditioning coach at that same program. And he's now tasked with, how do I balance this new demand of work, which really runs all year now when you're an assistant coach for that type of program, because there's recruitment and there's camps and there's all these things, even if players aren't present. And then how you do that with the rest of your life, right? He's looking to find a partner. He's looking to can maintain his health and his sanity. And so we want to be able to have this support available to us and talk about it, and even if solutions aren't necessarily present here at this time, like at least being able to say, hey, like this is what I'm going through. And then other people saying like, hey, like I get it. I've been there, or I'm there with you right now. That alone I've seen has been so supportive for particularly men, but I also have seen it with women as well. I think women naturally gravitate towards support circles. They have more of an inclination to do that than men do. We tend to, through just maybe traditional programming, we've been taught that like we should just figure it out on our own, that we have to. Asking for help and support is a sign of weakness. And I know most of the people here personally, to know that we don't sign on to that. Receiving support is power, power to overcome challenges, whether they're big or small. And so I'm still navigating what the structure of these type of conversations will be. But what I want to just bring up as a general topic has been the idea that, I would say most people, and I feel comfortable generalizing this, and I'll be more specific. Most men would be comfortable being really good at one thing in their lives and being satisfied with that and letting that be like the definition of their life's work. I would go on to say that that's probably pretty accurate, most men. And I had a conversation with my client earlier, and I had a conversation with my wife, and I told her, I'm not typical of that type of man. Like I used to be, for sure. I used to be very, self-centered, egotistical. I thought that for me specifically, if I were able to create tons of success with Wingman, that it would just provide everything that I wanted in life. It didn't do that. In fact, it almost took away everything that I held so dear to me, And in this kind of new awakening in this new part of my life, I've realized that, yeah, I still wanted to create a successful business that has a tremendous impact. And I want to be an incredible dad. I also want to be a present husband, an engaged husband. I also want to be a really active and present friend. I want to have a healthy body physically. I want to have a calm mind. I want to have a maintained conscious contact with my higher power as I understand him as God. I also want a social life. I want to be able to hang out with friends, go to events and get-togethers. I like going to the movies. I want to be able to play video games. I want to be able to do all these things, and all these things is kind of the common phrase that sometimes can be overwhelming. It can feel like it's a lot to do, And I truly believe that if it's something that we all desire to want, because we know it's going to create more fulfillment in our lives, it's going to allow us to also connect with people that we care about, and it allows us to expand our impact in the world. For me, I want to connect with people that I don't know. Like Max is the first time that, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that I'm meeting Max. Like I want to get to know Max. Max is a new guy in my life. I want to be able to get to know him and interact with him, because that'll keep me in touch with the world in the way that I feel like I'm meant to stay engaged with the world. But in order to do this, it requires a lot from us, and it requires structure, and it requires consistency, and it requires integrity and courage and effort and love and compassion and tolerance, and how do we maintain this without burning out? How do we maintain this without dying? And I found that if we have fun through these processes, it's very unlikely that we'll burn out. We'll get tired, but that's just a natural part of the human experience. We go to bed at that point. We take a nap at that point, right? But in terms of just the burning out from wanting to live the life and become the person who lives that life, if we enjoy it, we can be able to get there. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but we can totally get there. And I'm just really passionate about that idea. And I know because I know most of you, with the exception of Max up to this point, like I know that that's what you guys want. And so I'm bringing this up as not necessarily a topic, but maybe as a way to kind of prompt us to think about, as you're hearing me talk about this, what's coming up for you? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is that what you guys want? Is that not what you want? What seems to be the challenge in creating that space for yourself to do that? What parts of your life aren't fun that you want to be fun, or at least entertaining in some way? What goes through your mind as you hear me talk about these things? And anyone can jump in. And Max, you can also type in if you feel inclined to as well.
You know, that's what I'm looking for. So that's what we've been talking about and doing stuff. So,
Yeah.
and anything, you know, you do this full time. And so anything you can continue to do, all the stuff you're bringing up is all good ideas as far as community, a place, building a place, talking about these ideas, allowing us to share, bringing up ideas we might not have thought of, working on projects, whatever would all be helpful. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, same for me. I'm definitely in a place right now where I have a lot of different directions I want to go. And I'm constantly trying to figure out, do I pursue all those directions at once? Or do I select one or two and focus on those at the expense of the others? And so, yeah, so I think that's always been an issue for me to a certain extent, but it feels more so now. Like I'm not quite as unidirectionally career focused on one thing as I used to be. And yeah, so question for me is, you know, how do you do it all? Or if you can't do it all, how do you deal with that problem strategically?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question. So a big conversation that I commonly have with clients and friends, and even like in this house with my wife and even my 5-year-old daughter, is how we talk to ourselves, right? What are the words, what's the language that we use when describing what it is that we're choosing and not choosing to do, right? And so one word that I heard that you popped up was, it was more of a phrase, but it was at the expense, right? At the expense of. So oftentimes, and this is a cognitive bias, or what I like to call thought errors that can occur, where we create a little bit of a program or some type of story that is a result of something that we're experiencing. So for example, you're in this position now where you do have a lot of directions that you can go into at this present moment. And you could go into all of those directions. It may not be the most efficient in terms of your energy and your time, right? Could still do it. It might just take longer for you to reach the outcome in which you desire when it comes to who you are choosing to become, right? Who you're wanting to become. Or you can dial in, focus on one or two, and just go all in on those. And either option is okay. And the awareness of what the consequences of either choice is also important to understand. Just because you're choosing 2 things out of, let's say, 9 things that you could do, doesn't mean that those other 7 or 8 things are expensed, right? Like, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're gone, they don't exist, or you failed, because this is the direction that we could go into when we talk about at the expense of, or it's costing me, right? And I used to talk, and I have to have this conversation with my wife a lot, because, you know, when I talk to her about the momentum that's being built with the business I'm doing, the mission, the book, all the opportunities that are coming in, she only sees it as time being taken away from her and family, which is totally reasonable if I'm thinking about her perspective, right? But I also have to remind her that, like, I'm still here. Like, I'm still actively engaged. Like, nothing about how I've been showing up to my family and to you and to her has changed. You know, and we can talk, and we break it down, right? I'm not missing an action anywhere, you know? And so we find out that, oh, this is just a program based on some type of fear that she's experiencing, that if my business blows up, then I'm not going to be around as much, which is untrue, because I've already made the commitment that I'm going to be an amazing dad and an active and present husband, right? And so there's no cost. There's only investment. You know, there's nothing that gets expense. Yes, you may not be able to work on some things at this present time, And that means you put it off for a future time. But you also have to consider that Howie, 90 days from now, may no longer even be interested in half of those things that you decided to put off because they're no longer in alignment. So, the path to where we want to be is nonlinear. There's so many different ways. And by making a choice doesn't mean that all of a sudden we're giving up something. Sometimes we need to give up something if we're in a place of desperation. Like for me, I had to get to a place where I had to give up alcohol because it was killing me. And so I had to literally give that up. My mind thought that was a cost, right? But now in reflection, that was an investment in so many ways, And so to answer your question, so that's like the long way to answer your question, right? But the short answer is you get to decide what you feel is most in alignment. And then over time, you will see the truth unfold as to what actually is.
Yeah, that's helpful. I think, it's easy to get paralyzed by the options. And
yeah.
I think what I'm hearing from you is that, a lot of this comes down to just really thinking deeply about, what are the options that really matter the most to me now, and not fall into that trap of, well, if I put aside these options here, like those opportunities are never going to come my way again, because, that's not necessarily true. So yeah.
Yeah. Two ideas that I want to share with you guys is, sometimes we still get caught up in what we want to do, right? What we want to accomplish, right? When the real question is like, who do we want to be that experiences that accomplishment? Who do we want to be? Because then that'll answer the question, right? Who are you looking to become? What path are you looking to go through? What type of healing are you looking to experience? What's the evolution here that you're looking for? And then that'll make clearer like the path that you're supposed to go on. And then another thing is actually from a movie, Uncharted. It was said, I forget who said it. It was a person who eventually is the kid version of the person who eventually was played by Mark Wahlberg. Which is like Nathan Drake's older brother. But he said, when something is lost, there's a difference between something that is lost and something that is gone. Something that is gone is never comes back. Something that is lost can always be found. So if you're going to choose to lose these things, right, in favor of maybe a clear focus or direction, maybe one or two or three, however much you decide, doesn't mean that those things that you're choosing not are gone, right? They might be, depending on how you evolve. But I always consider those things lost until they're found again, But it just depends on who finds them, Who's the Howie that decides that they need to be found? Maybe the Howie that 90 days from now sees those things as gone. Mere figments of an imagination of someone who used to be. And that's okay too, That's what makes life so interesting, because it's nonlinear, right? Like it just doesn't, there's no, I could always go deeper into this for sure, but like, it's just, life will reveal itself no matter what we choose to do, Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a presentation on how to make life a game that you can win and have fun playing. And if you want free access to it, you can click the link below in the description, or you can wait until the end of this video, or you can directly go to thomasedwardsjr.com/webinar, and you can watch it there. But yeah, another idea that I had, thought about is a question I often ask anyone who's like my friends or whoever. I'm like, if you're going through something, or if there's something that you want to create in your life, do you have structure around it? Do you have a clear way of understanding what it is that is going to help you get there, and how to be able to track whether or not you're getting closer or further away, you know. And a lot of people oftentimes say no, they don't have that, which I believe is fairly common, you know. It's unless we're enrolled into something, and I think for me in childhood, it was like religion, like church, and school, and sports. Those are kind of the top three things that come to mind. Like to independently create a structure of living, right, that allows me to, you know, set clear objectives and then be able to track them. That's not at least a normal thing for me, you know. And so I'm bringing this up to maybe to just ask, you know, what are some, I mean, do you guys have a structure, or are there some structures that you guys have used that have been more effective than others? If you don't have a structure, do you want one? You know, what does that look like in your life?
I mean, I just do like to-do lists. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not exactly sure where you're going with that, but as far as like making sure I knock things down that I want to do, and I different, you know, of course you have to-do lists of things you need to register. I'm talking about like, you know, things I want to do for myself.
Yeah.
But if there's some other better method, I'm open to hear it.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit on that. What I'm finding is, you know, I don't have a lot of structure around the things that, you know, like my long-term goals, and I'm not measuring. You know, I'm working to work, and yeah, I'm making money. I'm doing, you know, I'm having successes, and I'm doing the thing, but I'm not measuring it. And what I, you know, one of my core beliefs is that you get what you focus on, and 20% of your efforts give you 80% of your results. Those are two of my core beliefs. So I'm not really honed in on what it is that, you know, what are my real objectives here, and what is the 20% that will get me those 80% of results, so that I can focus more on the 20% and not just be working to stay busy, you know, because there's plenty of stuff. I got plenty of work out there in the world I could do, but I would much prefer to do it, you know, in a kind of a focused, objective-based direction, so that you know, then I can create the roadmap to get where I want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if we were to work for a company per se, they would have that structure for us, right? Like if we were to work at a job, they inherently have that structure because they need it to track performance, right? And revenue and productivity and efficiency and all that stuff. They inherently, and it's much easier to do, and we know this, it's much easier to do when we can have specific numbers attached to it, right? Like, you know, if we know that 30 push-ups a day is going to help us like feel better, then we're going to make sure that we do 30 push-ups. We might do 20 in the morning, and then we realize, oh, we have 10 more to do. We can do them whenever. Or if we needed to walk 10 minutes a day. With life objectives, it can get a little hairy because sometimes we just can't put numbers to it, right? And what we typically do is when we can't put numbers to it, then it makes it completely binary. It's like either I did it or I didn't do it. And then, but the problem with that is if we didn't do it, right? Let's say you get to the result and you got 95% of the way there, right? Subjectively speaking, and maybe even objectively speaking, because you had that as kind of your standard of measure, it's so easy to be like, well, I got 95% there, but I didn't get there, so I failed. I didn't get there, you know? And so I always find that in a world where, you know, success and productivity is over romanticized and glorified, what really moves the needle for many people is progress. So sure, you set a goal for 90 days to do something, and then you did it for 89 days. Doesn't make all of a sudden everything amok. Not in all things, but in most cases. You know, those 89 days were progress that you've made. You are clearly a different person after those 89 days than you were before you started. And sometimes we miss that. We miss that moment to acknowledge that for ourselves. I used to look for that from other people, particularly my wife, you know, when I would, for example, not drink for 89 days, but then I go on a total bender on day 90, and then she's pissed because I was a mess. And I would be like, well, I was totally fine for 80 to 89 days. Don't you remember? Of course not. That circumstance, slightly different, right? But if you are choosing to get in better wellness, physical wellness, or maybe mental wellness, and you choose to meditate, you know, every day for 90 days, and you went from being able to meditate for 2 minutes, and then you got up to 5 minutes, but you did set a goal for 10 minutes. That 3-minute increase, even through studies and research, can be life-changing for you. You know, the same way maybe walking 10 minutes a day, going from completely stationary, right? No movement whatsoever, to 10 minutes a day over 90 days. Huge change in your overall health. You know, and so to kind of, you know, reflect on what I've been hearing is, you know, we can always create more structure and objectives in our lives that are more specific. We just need to, I feel like we need to be more flexible and malleable with how much we cling on to the outcome. And if we're willing to release ourselves from the outcome and focus more on the journey and the process and the progress that's being made, you're going to find much more fruit in that space than the experience of the outcome. Because I'll share from my personal experience, I'm a very ambitious, driven person. The moment I accomplish something, it becomes a check mark on my list, and then I'm thinking about the next thing. I don't really, unless I'm very present and aware, I will rarely give myself acknowledgement and a sense of that feeling of accomplishment the way that I probably should. Because my mind, my ego, really is like, well, that's done. That is now my baseline. What's next? You know, can I do better? Can I have more? You know, those are usually the questions that come up when I'm able to reach a certain milestone. Can I do better? Is there more? Or can I get more? As opposed to being, wow, I can't believe that, like, I did that. Who I was 90 days ago, couldn't even see that, couldn't even think how that was possible. It was just an idea, you know? But now I'm living that idea. That's part of my reality. There's a lot of significance in that experience. And oftentimes in my experience, like, I don't give myself that space to actually do that. My brain is my ego is programmed to do that. So if I'm unaware of that my ego is programmed to just accumulate milestones, right? And accept them as its baseline, not even realizing that there's significance behind it. That's just what I'm going to do. That's known as hedonic adaptation, where your brain immediately, I like to call it the ego. That's just a part of your character. It's like your ego immediately gets used to what is, even if you just got it, you know, like it may not happen like immediately, but it does happen relatively quick. For example, like if we all are, you know, I've been in a marriage, we just celebrated 8 years. right? We've been together since 2009. So that's like almost 13 years, right? I would say our honeymoon phase were increments of 1 to 3 months at every evolutionary state in our relationship. Meaning when we first started dating, we were lovey-dovey for the first 3 months. And then all of a sudden it was almost as if I was single. Sharing, like in terms of like my happiness level. Then we decided to get engaged. Boom, another bump, another dose of excitement and happiness. Went back to a standard deviation. Then we got married. Honeymoon, boom, another bump. Oh, now we're having a kid. Boom, another bump. Right? But like, even inside of those type of things, like once our mind gets used to that, like it's so easy, right? And so that's why it's important to, be in gratitude. That's the inverse of hedonic adaptation. Is gratitude. When you have that gratitude, then you really value what's actually unfolding, how far you've come, where you are right now, and what you used to not have, and to do those type of things. So I know I just threw a lot at you at once, and it kind of deviated from the initial topic. But going back to what we were talking about before, having that structure, no matter what it looks like, it could be a week-long structure, it could be a daily structure, or it could be like a monthly or a quarterly structure, but having some type of measuring stick when it comes to time, and then the specificity of what it is you're looking to accomplish or experience, right? That can give you enough of a measuring stick to give you momentum, some sense of urgency, but also like some clear understanding of where you are on the path. And whether or not you get there in that time that's given, you can still be able to witness the progress that you've made up to that point, which is still significant, even if you did not get there. So I've learned over time that when we release the attachment to the outcome, we actually end up finding more happiness and joy in the experience itself, trying to get there. And I've talked enough. So back to you guys with thoughts or questions or reflections. Did any of that even make sense to you? Okay. Love it. Awesome.
Yes, it did make sense to me.
Awesome. I also just feel like as guys, we just need more, we need to have more structure, Like one thing I've noticed about my wife is she lives completely in the opposite way that I do. She doesn't have structure. She has to-do lists that she makes every day. And I actually adopted that mentality as well. But in terms of like quarterly or like any type of time-based objectives, she doesn't live that way. She has a vision that she, sees internally, right? Through here, third eye. And then she just chooses to either embody it or not, based on whether or not she feels it's in alignment. And then she just goes out and lives her life, and she manifests that way, And I believe that we can also be able to do that too. We just have to hone in more on that, that internal creative type. I commonly hear it as like the feminine part of ourselves, But even for her, she's also able to admit that like she could use more of that masculine structure, the one that likes to set the path and wants to build and do those things. And so I've come to learn that, in all of us, both men and women, there is a masculine and feminine energy. The feminine energy is the visionary and the creation of that vision. And then the masculine part is the builder. The builder, it's almost like in architecture, right? Like you design the building, but you don't build it. You just design it. But those who can see that building and know how to build it, they're the ones that go ahead and do it. We see it exists. We just don't really see it as like kind of the creation in the building, or the masculine and the feminine, but we have this in all of us.
So does that work in a relationship?
Yeah.
or do you want somebody who you have that has structure and you have structure? You need two structured people. You need two unstructured people. You need one of each. Like, what work? Do they all work?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of being in tune with both of those energies, you know? So my wife is definitely a much less structured person, but she does lean on me when she knows that there's a situation that requires structure, right? And so she knows that like she's not that great at it, nor does she have the energy for it either. You know, like it's not really good for her energy to spend it on trying to create structure when she has me that can easily do it. Like for me, I thrive in that. That gives me more energy actually to create structure. So I'm willing to take that on. When it comes to vision, I'm also pretty good at that too. But I also know I'm not as good as being a visionary as I am a builder. So I also lean on her for that as well. To help me make sure that what I'm visioning is clear, or if she has anything to add, maybe she might see something that I can't see. She brings that to the table as well, you know? But because we both work like this, like I said, it flows, you know? I don't know how much it would work to have two rigid structured people. I don't know. I'm not in that experience. I've had clients who would, you know, for example, would be a lawyer and would try to date another lawyer and hate it because of it was too, they would commonly say it was too rigid, too structured. Everything was kind of set up to be kind of a debate or over analyzed, you know? And so they would then lean towards someone who didn't have as much seriousness going on in their lives, or something that had a little bit more flexibility, because that inspired them to embrace that. So depends on the person.
Now, earlier you said about the 3-month thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that normal? Is there some, is there a way around that? Is there some symptom to that? Because I've had some experiences like that, and then I've had some situations that were different than that.
Yeah. So this is just with no awareness. That's what happens in the honeymoon phase, right? It's almost like puppies, right? They're excited, they see you, puppy dog phase, they're into it, and then after a while, then it just gets what we may consider as boring, right? But it's not just relationships; it's with anything. New job, new city, new anything, right? Or new accumulation, new car, you know, like it just doesn't, it's typical across, you know, all things. And so how you overcome it is, one, have the awareness that this happens because of what your ego does, right? That's the first thing. And then the second thing is you practice gratitude, because gratitude brings you to the present moment. It allows you to acknowledge and witness and experience the emotions of having what you have, or being who you are, or being in what you're in. You get to bring up those feelings again. Will it be consistent? Depends on the person and their level of experiencing gratitude, you know? But I will tell you, when I started to express and practice gratitude on a daily basis, I found a lot more joy in the things that I realized I was taking for granted, like my relationships, you know? And as much as I love being a dad and being a husband, I too, you know, have fallen victim to taking those responsibilities for granted, because of the near certain guarantee that it's always there. You know, like I'm going to come home with my daughter and we're going to hang out. And if I'm taking it for granted and not showing gratitude, I'm likely going to express some impatience, some intolerance, some lack of compassion, right? Some sense of boredom, not wanting to be there, right? These are all signs of just not being present to the moment. But, you know, I had a gratitude list today. I did a gratitude prayer today. I did a gratitude journal today, and it was all revolving like my family, you know? So I have a deep, deep appreciation for for my family, and then this desire to express it to them, right? And even me sharing it here with you is a practice of that gratitude as well. They may not hear it, but I'm experiencing it, you know? And so that's what allows things that can get mundane to feel fresh and exciting and fun. That's just one example, is through the practice of gratitude. And then when you're able to, and basically what gratitude is, guys, just as a kind of an interesting way to look at it, is when you're present and you're savoring, right? So when you're savoring an experience, right, you're really milking it. You're really enjoying the experience that's unfolding, right? But when you combine that with presence, that's what creates gratitude. And you can create that moment at any time. So if you are, you know, so for example, Lucian is driving right now, right? And he can savor the fact that, you know, it's just road in front of him. I don't know what his back, you know, what he sees in front of him, but it could be like mountainous, it could be grassland, it could be whatever. And he could be savoring it. And then on top of the fact that he's present to it, now creates this gratitude for being in that moment where he is right now, moving along. And it could just make that moment where he's just going, maybe, I don't know how long, but, you know, I've been in experiences where I've had just, you know, when you're driving in the desert, you're not seeing much, right? But like, you can have those moments where you're in that place and you're just like, this is still amazing. This is still really cool, you know? And so it's just practicing that and applying it to things that you already have, right? The things that you've had for a long time in your life, whether it's a marriage, ownership of something, right? Like, and speaking of ownership, like that's a great example. That's actually a great example. Like for me, you know, you guys know, I love cars. I never really allowed myself to love cars because I thought it was such a vanity type thing. But I realized that like, there's a difference. If I, you know, own a car that's, you know, I've owned an exotic car before, and I recently sold it, and I have another car that's really nice. Like, if I'm bored of it, or I don't have feelings associated to it to this day, then it was a materialistic possession that I didn't really, you know, appreciate. But if I'm in the experience of getting behind the wheel and hearing the engine and hitting that accelerometer and like feeling the carving of the going through the you know, the turns and the leather and all that, like that's me savoring, right? Being present and then experiencing that gratitude. How I also experience gratitude is also going out and hand washing the car and vacuuming inside all the chips and nuts that my daughter knocked over, has on the floor, and all the dirt and dust that, you know, my wife brings in because she goes out to parks for her nature school. Like, you know, I express my gratitude for the ownership, right? For me, it's the ownership that I love, not just the actual item itself. And so there is even a difference in that in terms of how you can experience more fun in the things that you already have. You know, it's the experience of ownership. If you're bored of ownership, or if you're upset about ownership and the responsibility that comes with it, chances are then you're not going to enjoy or be happy or satisfied with that very thing that you're owning. And that's anything in life, whether it's your health, your spirituality, your relationships, your job, your kids. Those things are affected if you're not really grateful or enjoying the ownership experience and the responsibilities. That's just a great way for me to sum that up. I know we're coming at the end of the hour, but I want to open the space for any final thoughts or reflections, maybe a big takeaway that you received from us getting together. Questions you may have or still have.
Thank you, Thomas. This is a really useful conversation for me, and I, you know, it's easy for me to just kind of, you know, loll along through my life. I got a ton of gratitude, you know, I see the benefit of being with people who are, you know, really on point to create some magic in their lives in a very intentional way. And so, yeah, very grateful to be with you guys today. And you'll see me again.
Awesome. Love that, man. Love you, bro. Thanks for popping in and showing up and sharing with us.
You are very gifted at this, brother. I love it.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, for me, I mean, like I said, I've been through a couple quests, and I've heard just about all of this, but it's really nice to hear it again. So it's a nice reminder. I think since the quests ended, I still try to do the HP, but which includes a lot of gratitude in there. But it's definitely a reminder to stick with that, because I do know that when I was doing it every day, telling my wife I appreciate her every day, kind of soaking in those brief moments with my kids, it definitely made a difference. And yeah, so it's kind of a nice refresher to be back in here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Anything else you guys like to share? Doug, Max, any final words before we sign off?
Just keep it going, man.
Yeah.
I learn something new every time.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, and that's what it's about, man. I want to continue to create these, you know, like it's so good. It's so good just to have a space where you can just go in and just start to figure things out, you know, and even if the solution, like I said, isn't right there when you leave, you're just a little bit closer, you know, and I can sense it from you guys, because I can see it in your faces, you know, with the nods and just the eyebrow raises and just like the general tone in which you guys are just grasping it. And it's just great. It's great. It's so great to see that, you know, and it warms my heart and it fills me up so much to be able to provide this space, you know, like I'm learning from you guys as you guys are sharing too. And that's my return, you know, it's epic. So I thank you guys for
you know, I just went back and looked while the conversation was going on, since the other guys mentioned it. It's been 9 years, you and I.
Oh.
Known each other now.
That's awesome.
Since your first project many years ago.
I love it. I love it. And this is also what it's about too, right? Just like we start build like long-term relationships, you know, whether we work together professionally or we don't, we just know each other and we continue to share value with each other, you know. That for me is what I know intuitively that's going to allow at least me to live a long-lasting, fulfilling life, is just being able to share these experiences with guys like you and be able to do it for as long as we're meant to, you know. It's such a privilege, and it's such a privilege for me to be able to be here and share the space with you guys. You guys are just awesome, and I learn from you guys every time we interact, and I hope you guys are able to take a little bit of something from our experience as well. But yeah, so Max, I'm so pumped that you're here. Hopefully next time when you join, you can you know, be more vocal. But if you want to share any thoughts, man, you know, shoot me an email, thomas@thomasedwardsjr.com. You can kind of share whatever it is, what's on your mind, and you know, share your reflections as well, man. We can always talk more. And once again, you know, once I'm able to get Circle and get used to the platform and have it up, I'll send you guys all links so you guys can jump in and we can continue. Oh, awesome. Oh yeah, that's a couple of years ago. Yeah, sweet. Love it, man. So yeah, that way we can connect some more inside, and we can continue this conversation until the next one. I want to fill the gap a little bit more between these sessions, and so I hear you, buddy. Well, an opportunity to make that change again, if that's something that you desire, so yeah, reach out, keep showing up. That's actually one of the most challenging, but simplest things we can do. Just keep showing up with the desire to just be a better person than we were yesterday, maybe even a minute before, maybe even a minute ago, right? And just taking a moment at a time and continue to learn and grow. That's what this life is about, and to enjoy it while we're doing it. Let's never forget that. Let's enjoy growth and enjoy learning as life unfolds. So I love you guys so much. Thanks so much for being here. And yeah, we'll talk again next month. And then eventually we'll talk in, obviously, hopefully in the next week or two inside of Circle. And yeah, I'll see you guys again soon.
Thank you.
Later, guys.
Yep.
I hope you found that video fun and useful. And if you want to get that free presentation on how to make life a game that you can win and have fun playing, click the link below. And if you want to watch another video that's fun and useful, click the link right over here. Go ahead, it's right there. Click it. I'll see you there.